President Lee Jae-myung met with the Japanese internet giant SoftBank Group founder Masayoshi Son in Seoul on Friday and discussed partnerships in advanced technologies, namely artificial intelligence. South Korea and the U.S. have officially launched a visa support desk at the U.S. Embassy here in Seoul to help Korean firms investing in the U.S. with smoother entry procedures, as a follow-up measure of the mass detention of Korean workers in Georgia this past September. South Korea's current account surplus in October sharply narrowed from a month earlier, but that's because of fewer working days during the Chuseok holiday and the absence of large one-off exports of ships. We begin at the presidential office in Yongsan, where President Lee Jae-myung sat down with SoftBank Group founder Masayoshi Son to explore avenues of partnership in the field of artificial intelligence. Our correspondent Song Yoo-jin starts us off.
South Korean President Lee Jae-myung is broadening his AI diplomacy, this time by meeting with Masayoshi Son, the head of Japanese tech investment giant SoftBank. The two met at the Yongsan presidential office on Friday to discuss the latest trends in artificial intelligence and potential avenues for cooperation.
저는 인공지능이 가지는 엄청난 역량 때문에 마치 상수도나 하수도 무슨 도로처럼 모든 국민들, 모든 국가들이 함께 누리는 정말 초보적인 인프라로 활용할 수 있다고 믿고.
The SoftBank CEO highlighted what he calls the next technological frontier, ASI, or artificial superintelligence, which he described as AI that is 10,000 times smarter than humans.
Instead of we think we can control them, we can teach them, we can manage them. We have to start to harmonize. We have to start to synchronize. We have to start to respect.
During their more than hour-long meeting, Son suggested 4 pillars that he believes will help South Korea prepare for the rise of artificial superintelligence: energy, semiconductors, data, and education. In line with this proposal, South Korea's industry ministry and ARM, the British semiconductor design company in which SoftBank is the largest shareholder, signed an MOU to form a working group for the so-called ARM School.
ARM School will be a chip design-focused institution built on ARM's strengths. It aims to train about 1,400 top-tier experts, becoming a valuable asset in strengthening South Korea's semiconductor ecosystem, particularly in areas like fabless design, where the country remains relatively weak.
The industry ministry is preparing to name an institution for this new semiconductor graduate program, with the Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology being considered the leading candidate. This marks President Lee's latest meeting with global AI leaders following talks with the heads of BlackRock, OpenAI, and NVIDIA. These discussions reflect the Lee administration's resolve to make South Korea one of the world's top 3 AI powerhouses by strengthening technological competitiveness and global cooperation networks. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
And after meeting with the SoftBank CEO, President Lee traveled to the city of Cheonan on Friday to hold a town hall meeting with the residents of Chungcheongnam-do province. In his opening remarks, President Lee reiterated that developing regions outside the capital is the only way to ensure South Korea's economic survival. Among the ideas suggested was transforming the province into a hub for high-tech industries, particularly displays, semiconductors, and mobility. Now, to support this, the government plans to establish a next-generation display research institute by 2030, as well as a semiconductor support center to help chip companies strengthen their technological capabilities. After the shocking detention of more than 300 Korean workers following an immigration raid over in Georgia, South Korea and the U.S. have been holding meetings to improve the U.S. work visa system. Now, some of the measures to make the entry system smoother were unveiled today. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
To keep up the momentum for the cooperation between Seoul and Washington, the two countries formed a visa working group to address challenges faced by workers at Korean businesses entering the U.S. And significant progress has been made after 2 meetings held in late September and October. According to the Foreign Ministry on Friday, 6 major improvements were made. The U.S. Embassy released a visa fact sheet clarifying the scope of eligible activities for B1 and ESTA visa holders in both Korean and English, an unprecedented move for the U.S. to publicly release such material. A Korea investment team desk, the so-called KIT desk, has been established at the U.S. Embassy in Seoul. Led by the embassy's economic section and supported by interagency partners, the embassy says it will work with Korea's top investors in the U.S. to address business travel challenges. It is known to have already started giving guidance since October, though it opened officially on Friday. Washington has also streamlined the visa process for all business travelers supporting Korean projects in the U.S. This is a major step for subcontracted staff. Until now, major companies such as Samsung, Hyundai Motors, and LG usually received stable visas like E2 or L visas that rarely cause problems. Subcontracted workers were the ones who often struggled to prepare their own applications and faced more denials, but these difficulties are now expected to ease significantly. In particular, when issuing a B1 visa, the applicant will be able to use the annotation section to specify details such as which company, which facility, and which project they will be working on. This is known to be a special measure applied only to Korea and is expected to help verify travelers' status in case of any unexpected immigration enforcement checks. The Korean government also plans to form cooperation channels between Korean missions and immigration authorities in cities where many Korean company employees enter the U.S., such as Los Angeles. Lastly, the U.S. has guaranteed that employees who were previously detained in Georgia will not face any disadvantages when re-entering the country. Those who already hold a B1 visa can continue using it, and workers who have been entering under the ESTA visa will be able to receive a B1 immediately. While saying this year's Korea-U.S. Visa Working Group meetings were successful, Second Vice Foreign Minister Kim Jin-ah said they will continue to be held next year to further improve the entry process for staff of Korean companies to enter the U.S. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
South Korea's current account sees a smaller unmanned surplus in October. But analysts point out the cumulative current account surplus for the first 10 months of this year has hit a fresh high. Park Jun-han reports.
South Korea's 30-month-long current account surplus continued in October. The current account shows the balance of imports and exports as well as other money flows into and out of the country. The Bank of Korea announced on Friday that the preliminary current account surplus registered for October stood at $6.81 billion. This is about 50% lower than September's $13.47 billion. However, the central bank stated that the difference was largely due to fewer working days during the extended Chuseok holiday and the absence of large one-off exports of ships.
South Korea posted a $6.81 billion current account surplus in October, but the surplus narrowed sharply from the previous month, mainly due to temporary factors such as fewer business days during the Chuseok holiday, which reduced the goods balance.
Meanwhile, the cumulative current account surplus from January to October this year hit a record high. The total current account surplus during the period reached $89.58 billion. This is 17% higher than the same period last year when it stood at $76.63 billion.
Although October's current account surplus declined from the previous month due to several temporary factors, the holiday variable disappears in November, and with South Korea recording all-time high semiconductor exports and generating a significant trade surplus, the current account surplus is expected to recover to the strong level of more than $10 billion.
According to projections by the Korea International Trade Association, South Korea is expected to surpass $700 billion in exports for the first time in 2025. The association claimed that the country will deliver even stronger results in 2026, projecting that semiconductors and ships will drive the momentum for robust export growth. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
in Seoul, the heavy snowfall, which started during yesterday's rush hour, continued to cause inconvenience for commuters on Friday morning. Our An Sung-jin tells us more.
Pedestrians carefully shuffle down the street, some gripping onto handrails as the steps were slippery. Following the first snow of the season on Thursday evening, major inconveniences continued for commuters due to heavy snowfall and icy road conditions on Friday.
A trip that should take 10 to 20 minutes took me over 30 minutes today. It's really hard to catch a taxi, and the buses seem to be running a bit later than usual. I almost slipped when I left home, so I have to be careful.
It's slippery, so I need to be careful. A fall could be fatal for an elderly person.
Snow began falling around rush hour on Thursday, coming down at nearly 5 centimeters per hour. Heavy snow disaster alerts were sent out to 21 regions, including Eunpyeonggu District in Seoul and Gapyeongung County and Pocheon City in Gyeonggi-do Province. The snowfall led to the shutdown of more than 30 sections of urban expressways, including Gangbyeongbukro and Dongbu Arterial Road, as well as 9 city roads, leaving commuters stranded. As of Friday afternoon, all road closures in Seoul due to icy conditions have been lifted. The Seoul Metropolitan Government issued a Level 1 snowfall response on Thursday afternoon and deployed over 5,000 personnel and more than 1,100 snow removal vehicles in preparation ahead of the sudden heavy snow. However, this didn't prevent traffic chaos during the evening commute. Officials explained that although initial response efforts were made, the intense snowfall over a short period overwhelmed the system, making it difficult for pre-spread de-icing agents to work properly. Experts say that the heavy snowfall came from a strong Siberian high-pressure system expanding southward. The warm air from a high-pressure system in the south met the cold air descending from the north, creating a stationary pressure that increased atmospheric instability. Officials warned that as the snow from Thursday had frozen over, many roads are expected to remain icy. They also cautioned about thin layers of black ice that have formed in many areas. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Crisis and management efforts continue at Coupang as its online foot traffic declines, while relevant authorities have pledged tougher accountability. Our business correspondent Kim Do-yeon has the latest.
The massive data breach involving 33.7 million Coupang accounts is now directly impacting the e-commerce giant's user base. According to data released by Mobile Index on Friday, Coupang's daily active users dropped to 17.8 million on December 2nd. This represents a decrease of more than 180,000 users compared to the record high observed just one day prior. Market analysts attribute this fluctuation directly to the breach, with traffic shifting from a spike in initial concern to a trend of user departure. Despite growing anxiety among consumers, law enforcement authorities stated on Friday that no actual crimes linked to the leaked data have been confirmed so far. The National Office of Investigation reported that after analyzing over 22,000 reports of voice phishing and smishing, as well as 116,000 cases of physical crimes including stalking and break-ins, no secondary damage correlated to the Coupang breach was found. Police emphasize they will continue monitoring for any misuse of delivery addresses or order histories. Meanwhile, consumers attempting to leave the platform are facing friction. Deleting a Coupang account currently requires a complex process involving multiple verification steps. In response, the Broadcasting Media Communications Commission has launched a fact-finding investigation to determine if this procedure violates the Telecommunications Business Act by effectively restricting a user's right to terminate their service. Simultaneously, government regulators are moving to tighten legal repercussions. The Personal Information Protection Commission has announced a policy of strict enforcement regarding the incident. Legislators are pushing to raise the fine cap under the Personal Information Protection Act from the current 3% to 4% of total revenue and to enforce substantive punitive damages for data handlers who exhibit gross negligence. This regulatory shift has created tension across the corporate sector, with major firms such as GS Retail, Yes24, and KT also under investigation for separate security incidents facing the prospect of significantly heavier sanctions. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Russia's Vladimir Putin maintained his intentions to seize Ukraine's Donbas region, quote, by military or other means, even as the efforts to end his aggression against Kyiv continue. Our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Seong reports.
Russian leader Vladimir Putin has warned that Moscow will seize Ukraine's eastern region of Donbas if Ukrainian troops do not withdraw from the area. This came in an interview with India Today, before the Russian leader left for a trip to New Delhi. He told the Indian Daily that he intends to liberate Donbas and Novorossiya at any cost, by military or other means, according to Russian state media TASS. Amid the United States' efforts to end the near 4 years of war, the Kremlin has been demanding Ukraine hand over territory in the Donbas region, 85% of which is currently under Russian control. This comes after US President Donald Trump claimed his negotiators believe the Russian leader would like to end the war after talks over a peace plan in Moscow on Tuesday. Last week, the Trump administration's 28-point draft proposal was leaked and criticized for largely reflecting the Kremlin's main demands, including Ukraine giving up territory, limiting its military, and dropping its efforts to join NATO. The proposal has reportedly been revised since then, with input from Kyiv and European nations, but the details have not been disclosed. Putin said his 5-hour talks with US envoys at the Kremlin on Tuesday were necessary and useful, but also difficult work. While deeming some proposals unacceptable, Putin said he believed the US leader is sincere.
We had a feeling, and even more than a feeling. I had no doubt that President Trump has sincere desire. Well, let's not talk about what's the cause of it, but what dictated this sincere desire, but it is there, in place for sure. The United States and President Trump, indeed, they have their own understanding of why it needs to end, and as soon as possible.
Putin has previously said he is generally on board with Trump's proposals as a basis for future agreements, while threatening continued military advancement should Ukraine refuse to comply. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has refused to cede territory and has called for a security guarantee from the West. Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff is due to meet Ukraine's team in Florida after returning from Moscow. According to German news outlet Der Spiegel, European leaders are skeptical of Trump's peace deal efforts. On Thursday, the publication reported that in a call between Zelensky and other European leaders, French President Emmanuel Macron warned that the United States could betray Kyiv on territorial concessions without clarity on security guarantees. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz reportedly told Zelensky that US negotiators are, quote, playing games and that he should be very careful for the next few days. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
The Korea Customs Service said Friday it has seized a record high of nearly 3,000 kilograms of illegal drugs at the border this year so far. The service said it will launch joint operations with the 10 countries to bolster its crackdown. Meanwhile, the Korean National Police Agency said Friday that it had arrested 28 people who were committing scam crimes in Cambodia and Thailand. Based on key intelligence provided by the Chungnam Provincial Police Agency's mobile investigation unit, the Cambodia-Korea Task Force drew up an operational plan breaking chains with local law enforcement officers. The KMPA said this was the first outcome of a global joint operation led by Korean police, including 16 countries and 3 international organizations. There are many reasons to wait for Fridays, and one of them is definitely the arts and culture coverage by our culture correspondent, Park Konu. He is here in the studio with us tonight. Welcome back, Konu.
Great to be here, Dami.
So what do you have for us tonight?
Right, so this week, the global sports community turned its attention to the southern port city, Busan, in South Korea, where the World Conference on Doping in Sport was wrapped up with its 5 program on Friday. And it was a historic moment as it was the first time any Asian city hosted the event, held every 6 years. And on closing day, delegates adopted the Busan Declaration, reaffirming a shared commitment to protecting the values of clean and fair competition strengthening international cooperation and safeguarding of the rights of athletes, and also ensuring the independence of national anti-doping organizations. The revised regulations and related international standards will be applied from 2027 for 6 years, this time mainly focusing on protecting the rights of athletes who are minors and anti-doping organization independence. Korea also introduced a proposal to expand the use of digital tools in anti-doping education. South Korean volleyball legend Kim Yeon-kyung spoke at the event, emphasizing how actively Korea has been developing and implementing these innovative approaches.
Korea has been working on interactive training instead of passive lectures, a mobile online platform for anytime learning, and a mentoring program with athlete committee members, including myself, to share real on-field experience. For us, education is a key tool to protect athletes and strengthen fair play, an effort the global sports community must pursue together.
Kanu, weren't there also programs to educate minors, right? Tell us more.
Right, so the 2025 edition of the event had these exchange programs with well-known athletes who are working as athlete committee members of anti-doping agencies, including Kim Yeon-kyung herself, legendary archer Ki Bo-bae, and bobsleigh star Won Yun-jong, as well as international athletes such as Irish para-rower Patrick O'Leary, whom I also met at the event. They spent time learning which substances are considered doping and which are not, and many athletes told me how important it is to understand these rules from an early stage.
Learning about clean sport and anti-doping properly from a young age can be crucial for an athlete's future. Through education, athletes gain a clear understanding of clean sport. Athletes can protect themselves and also protect their fellow competitors. That's why this education is so important.
It's really important to come together and to revisit the rules and make sure that the rules are keeping up with any developments there are in new drugs or new techniques that need to be monitored. And if you can concentrate the education with the students who are definitely going to be involved in the long term, they'll act as a seed for the good information for the rest of Korea's athletes.
And one junior athlete who participated in the program said he wants even more.
I was able to learn about many different substances, including which ones are prohibited and not. In the future, if I'm prescribed medication at a hospital, I now know I can check it.
So building on its growing popularity among these students, the KADA announced it will work with WADA in Busan City to establish and expand this kind of program to an Asian youth athletes camp as a lasting legacy of the Busan WADA conference.
Well, Kanu, this is such a huge event. Now, a lot of renowned figures travel to Busan, proving the significance of this event. Who were some of the key figures other than those legends, Kim Yeon-kyung and Won Yun-jong?
Right. So this event, as you know, was participated by around 2,000 people, including delegates from around 160 countries, the World Anti-Doping Agency president, and also the IOC president.
The most ideal is to have no doping, right? We can only do that together if we're working together as one to ensure that each of us plays our roles. And Korea has been a really good partner for the Olympic movement, and most recently in the past few years with hosting the Winter Games. And I'm sure they will continue to be a really solid partner for us and help unify the one team.
You have invested quite heavily in matters of anti-doping. You have spoken out boldly. The genetic make of our athletes may be different, but it is important we share information and see how best we can collaborate so that at the world level, we will not be cheated. We have to meet and have a conversation. So the long journey was worth it.
This comes as Korea continues its long-standing contribution to WADA, having been elected to the executive committee for the 5th time and now serving through 2028. Korea has also been supporting developing countries with training and education programs.
Right. Now, Kanu, before I let you go, the enhanced games issue was also another major hot topic throughout the entire conference, right?
Definitely a hot topic. First of all, the enhanced games will be held at Nevada, USA this coming May. And the event is essentially a sports competition that allows the use of doping substances. And naturally, it became a hot topic at the conference, definitely. And WADA officials made it clear that such events not only violate the the fundamental ethics of sport, but are also dangerous acts that put athletes' lives at risk, even though the event does not fall directly under WADA's jurisdiction.
Indeed, Konu, thank you for covering that report. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dani.
More than 5 centimeters of snow fell around the central regions yesterday. It was quite a lot for the first snow of this winter. The snow has stopped, but freezing conditions mean roads and sidewalks are slippery. Please pay attention to avoid accidents. This morning began with severe cold, with the temperature in Seoul plunged to -7 degrees Celsius. It only rose to 2 degrees during the day. Temperatures will start to rise from tomorrow afternoon and it will be relatively mild on Sunday. The temperature in Seoul will be as high as 12 degrees on Sunday. Most areas will start off below zero, with Seoul at -1, Chuncheon at -7 degrees. Highs will rise to the double digits in Daejeon, Daegu, and Gyeongju at 10 degrees, Jeju at 17 degrees. Rain is forecast in the central and western parts of the country on Saturday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.